feels like we're in that period of losing track of time, and time between Christmas and New Year. Almost like the feeling like, these long, if you call them escalators on the airport, it takes you along. It kind of feels like we're on that at the moment, just a slow sort of, almost like a bunch of Sundays in a row. Kind of awaiting this holiday period almost to be over. It does feel a little bit more comfortable this year than other years. This period between Christmas and New Year, sometimes it can feel like you just want it to be over, and other times it's I guess, maybe it's just that feeling. It's a bit slow and dragging, but I think with losing more perspective on time, not just because of the holidays, but just my sense of time and day to day, it makes it a bit easier for it not to be as a big deal, the New Year stuff, and even Christmas wasn't too bad, actually. Because usually it's a time, see family, we share some food, and I guess in some ways it's been more challenging this year than previous years because of my challenges in being in a group of people. But I think I managed it okay. I managed it as well as I could have, which is, I think. And there was a few moments during that day when I was it was like a long day, a long amount of hours in company, where I was able to sometimes check in with myself, not necessarily to do anything about it in some ways, but just to, maybe there was some kind of subtle internal regulation going on with checking in, just pacing myself, or maybe just even a silent, encouraging sort of notion, an internal one saying, okay, keep going, the day's almost over. Something I was going to say that's just left me. Maybe it will come back. Yeah, so I think the last couple of days just been almost a bit of recovery from that, and just getting back into my routine of being in my own company. I feel like when there's a day I spend largely in company, then I kind of almost have to realign afterwards to being back in back alone again. I think it's probably the same with people who spend most of their time in company, and then if they're alone for a day or 2 days or more, then it can feel very strange. So for me it's the opposite. There's currently a chess tournament going on, which broadcasts in the morning from Kazakhstan. There's a big chess tournament which is on YouTube, so showing it on YouTube. So I've kind of been, the last couple of days after Christmas, I've been kind of watching that, and I just finished watching the broadcast that finished a moment ago. It's like early afternoon now, or mid-afternoon. I thought it would be good to do an update on things. It's funny because I was watching a lot of Louis Theroux's documentaries, and I don't know what it's called, but sometimes when I watch a lot of somebody, I end up taking on their character a little bit, like the way they talk. And so I was finding during Christmas Day talking like Louis Theroux, probably not in the way of the tone and sound of my voice, but perhaps he's got a bit of a bouncy energy and a little bit of charisma, and there's a kind of a steadiness to the way he talks, a kind of a groundedness. And so I was kind of almost taking on those traits during Christmas Day. So I'd watched, I think, leading up to Christmas Day, a day or two before, I'd been watching several of his documentaries, and that's a funny thing to notice in myself when I spend time around somebody a lot, or if it's taken through in a visual medium and watch a lot of somebody, and I end up taking on their traits. But I don't know if there's a name for that. Yeah, so it's strange with this time between Christmas and New Year's. I can feel the energy of it, the kind of, I don't know why that image of the escalator really rings true for me, where we're kind of all on the escalator awaiting the new year. Like, most people are probably not doing a huge amount in a sense, or it's kind of a sort of rest period, or in that holiday sort of fuzzy energy. I'm actually trying a new soap. I know exciting news. The previous soap I was using for when I have a shower was supposed to be for sensitive skin, but it began irritating my skin, and this is like the second soap I've got. So when I had the medication for my skin, I switched from a different shower gel, which is supposed to be for sensitive skin and no chemicals, but it was irritating my skin. But I found a sort of cleansing bar, a sort of body wash soap bar, from the same make that I use for my face, which was also having issues. So yeah, I think I've used it today, and I don't. Sometimes it takes several days to see how the skin reacts, but so far it doesn't seem like it's. I think it's okay, which is a relief, but we'll see. And sometimes a way to test it out is to do some sort of rigorous exercise, or to do like a bit more of, like a fast walk, because I get heat rash quite quickly. So which is probably linked into sensitive skin and other things. So when my skin's slightly irritable or dry, or whatever condition my skin has, it just amplifies the heat rash, and I suddenly get completely itchy, and it's not a kind of like a hot prickly feeling. So it's quite irritating on the skin. So yeah, at some point when I go for a walk, I'll try and do a bit more of walk a few more hills in the park that's just close by, see how my skin reacts. So I'm kind of glad I managed to sort that out for myself and found another potential option that hopefully will be okay. Yeah, and I think the rest of the last couple of days I've just been sort of playing bits of poker. I did manage a little bit of writing perhaps a couple of days ago, 2 or 3 days ago maybe. I kind of, at the moment, I'm taking the approach of just having fun writing a sentence or two. That's my expectation, or my, trying to set the bar low, so hopefully takes off some of the pressure from writing and some of my expectations, which quickly creep in even though I'm trying to drop them. So I think the approach of just writing a fun and enjoyable sentence and that's quite key as well, not just to write a sentence just to tick that box, but to actually enjoy crafting a sentence, and then maybe another one. And quite often I find in writing there's an urge to finish off that sort of thoughts, that paragraph of, say if I describe a beginnings of a scene, quite quickly you want to finish that sort of section of what you're writing, so it kind of takes on a bit of momentum on its own, just to finish off that sort of block of writing. But I'm going to try not to consider that, because sometimes I think maybe a day or two ago I wrote just a sentence, so it's important not to have the expectation that I'm sort of trying to trick myself into writing more, which is not the case. It's just writing an enjoyable sentence and just having some time sort of connecting with writing, even if it's just in a really small way. Of course it comes up with challenges for doing that, because it's of course hard to continue a big sort of story, a sentence at a time, and sometimes it takes a while to sort of dial in to what you want to write and consider what's been written in the story and where to move it forward. So there's obviously pros and cons to that, but it feels like I'm just doing what I'm able to do. It feels like there's no other options really besides stop writing, which I don't think would be a good idea for me. I feel like that's having it in the background, even though I'm doing very little and bits each, every now and again, it's still helpful to have that sort of purpose, or that kind of hobby, I guess is maybe a good word to call it now, instead of an ambition or aspiring writer. Maybe it's, for the moment, it's just a hobby, just something to help me through the day. And and I find sometimes I think about the story a bit. I may not be writing, but there are moments where, for example, it's raining right now, and I thought maybe if the character wants some quiet time, or they enjoy walking in the rain when not many people will be out, probably they'll be like in their rain gear and sort of walking, and perhaps they'll enjoy the quietness of the streets. Sometimes it's just an idea I had of different parts of this character I'm working on. I have had thoughts about sort of walking further afield and going to different cafes in different parts of the city. Like going into the centre is quite busy, but for some reason there's been a bit of an urge to want to do that. And there's like a harbour side. If you kind of go through the shopping sort of centre, there's like I think it's like a sort of canal, and there's a harbour, and I think there's more shops and things there. And it's been a long time since I've kind of explored walking around that area, so maybe there was just a thought of currently the thought was regularly walking, in different spaces, of just getting some more exercise and change of scenery as well, which I thought might help, and taking sort of my laptops and my book. So again, I think earlier on there was expectations of doing, the original thoughts before were to do a long session of writing, to go to cafes, but now it's still embracing the change of scenery and the walk and exercise, but now no expectations of how much I write or how much I read. So, and I thought when I go to a cafe, I can there's 3 activities I can do there. I can do some writing, I work on the story. I can play some poker as well. Most cafes have Wi-Fi, so I can play some poker, and I can do a bit of reading as well, or just do and just dip into any one of those sort of while I'm there. I can go back to playing some poker, doing reading, going back to playing a few more games. And I think the important thing will be not what I accomplished there, but just maybe having a change of scenery and getting the exercise. I think maybe that will be good for me. So yeah, there's a current desire for that, or a desire to do that, which hasn't been there for a while. So it's been building up actually, and I just haven't been able to do it. And I'm quite invested in this chess tournament that finishes in 3 days' time. So I wouldn't want to. I'd rather sort of go earlier in the day, so I come back when it's not dark, and do it that way. So yeah, again, it's not a. Try not to kind of hold on to that as an expectation. For the moment, the desire is there to do that, and perhaps in a few days' time, when the chess finishes, and I can see if that's still the case, and and of course there's some cafes closer to me that I can sort of revisit and go to, that I used to go to maybe a year ago or 7 or 8 months ago, somewhere around there. I used to sort of go more regularly to cafes and write, but of course things have changed, and health and my trying to give up writing and all of that fluctuated everything, and it kind of, so I'm kind of just rebuilding a little bit, perhaps it's a good word to use. So yeah, these are some ideas I've got for over the next week, or potential ideas for the next week or two to sort of do that, and maybe hit the library as well. There's a library in the centre, near the shopping centre. There's a library there, quite a big one. I can always do a little bit. Sometimes in the old days I used to go there and do a bit of writing, and then I would go to a coffee shop and get a coffee and then do a bit more. So there's that idea as well. And maybe some of the days I can figure out perhaps getting some food outside, although it's quite cold. So if it's somewhere where I've got to sort of take it away, or if there's a space inside to have some food. But yeah, maybe that's just an option I can do as well, to kind of it's strange because I feel generally calmish, I guess, but I'm aware that lots of things are still under the surface, in a sense. Yeah, sometimes it's just like easy to forget the challenges. Sometimes it's just even though things are slightly more calmer now, today, in this moment, or feel a bit more, the challenges are still there. Like for example, like with food later today, I'm still figuring that out. I did cook some noodles, some tofu and noodles, so I've got a portion of that left. I'm just wondering whether to get some food outside as well. I've tried to still trying to balance that, of getting sort of more kind of junk food, or kind of treats outside, and so I'm trying to balance, so I'm not sort of restricting, but there's a bit of a balance of what I'm having to eat as well. So sometimes it helps as an incentive to kind of get outside. It gives me somewhere to go, like a bit of a mission to go to that particular place to get the food and bring it back here. So I'm still considering whether to do that or not. And that's even that, which can feel like a really simple decision. In my mind, it's almost like code trying to figure itself out. So I've kind of ruminate on that quite a lot. And sometimes if I ruminate for long enough, then it kind of makes the decision for me. Like in the past, I've had it where I've been deciding, should I go out or not? And then as time ticks by and it's closer to getting dark, then I feel like, oh yeah, it's not worth going out now because of the the light. So sometimes it kind of happens that way, where a kind of, the decision gets made for me in some ways. So yeah, I'll see, and I'm not sure what else I'm going to do for the afternoon. Maybe I can try and write that sentence and check in with my getting some emails. Check in with maybe check in with my story, which feels like it's even though I've said to write the sentence or two, sometimes it can still be intimidating, or it can seem like a task to check in with the story. So maybe it's a bit of positive stress to kind of open up the story and just have it in front of me at least. And then if I don't want to write it, then so I still want to almost push myself in some way, even at like the lightest weight. If it's like a bench press, even putting it in the lightest weight, it's doing something when you're kind of putting in some positive stress and effort. So and that's as light as I can get it in regards to writing. It's just simply sitting down and opening up the story in front of me. And I feel maybe that's a big step by itself, whether I write anything or not. I'm not sure what else I'm going to do this afternoon or evening. I feel a bit fuzzy about it, so maybe it's okay not to think about what's going to happen later. There is the kind of desire to go outside when it's raining, so I can put on my waterproof gear, and generally it's less people outside when it's like raining, so maybe there is a temptation to do that, and we shall see. And sometimes that clicks in with getting some food for this evening, perhaps, and then sometimes that clicks into watching a movie, so kind of one thing connects to another. Sometimes you got some sort of nice food, you think, let's watch a movie with it as well. So it kind of all comes together a little bit sometimes. But I'll see. And it'd be nice to upload this as well, and maybe I'll do that actually. Maybe after I've recorded this, I'll put on the old waterproof gear, and hopefully the rain keeps going, so almost feel a bit safer outside when it's raining. Anything else I want to share or talk about? I think it's just more of the same. I think for the next few days up until New Year's, for like kind of riding out the holiday energy a little bit. Maybe it's taking a bit more of a toll on me than I'm putting into words, really. It's funny, even though I've been recording vlogs for maybe a year or so now, even though it's been quite sporadic sometimes where I won't record for weeks, but sometimes personal things I'm still afraid to say or speak out loud in like this public way. Maybe I'll say this about I guess I'm conscious of people watching. People it's surprising how stuff gets spread around, and somebody I know, especially in my family, they come across these vlogs and watch it. I'm just wondering how it comes across. So there's always that worry about, just why I'm kind of careful of just keeping things more about myself, about my health in a way, and less, even though things in regards to my relationships to family is my stuff as well, but I try to sort of keep things a bit neutral. Maybe it's okay to say this, I think, but that my mum's birthday is coming up on New Year's Eve, and I was thinking of potentially sending a card, just to wish her well. Even though we're not in sort of contact, I'm just sort of considering if that's safe for me to do, because I don't want to necessarily for that to be interpreted as permission to, okay, let's resume things, or let's, get back in touch in that same way. It's still perhaps too fragile for that. So I don't think anything's really changed. So I think it's just going to be the same as it was before in regards to me not, affecting my health in that way. But I thought maybe it's a nice gesture to do that. So I think it's the 27th today, so maybe the next day or two I can I have to go to a post office to send that off as well. So maybe we'll see how things go, but there's just a thought of that, and that sort of building up a bit as the days tick by towards New Year's. So just something perhaps that was on my mind. Maybe be good to do a little bit of reading. I've not been reading much in the last 4 or 5 days, so there was a moment when I did a small amount of reading on the new Grisham book. I think I mentioned it here in the vlogs, where I was able to read a few pages and dial into the story and feel comfortable, sort of, getting momentum in the book. So maybe I can keep that in mind for sometime today, this afternoon or evening, to maybe read, even if it's a page or two. That might be a healthy thing for me to do, to continue with that. And of course, there's always the option of watching a film as well, that I haven't done in about a week or so, or maybe around about that time. With food wise today so far, I haven't had a huge amount. I'll be drinking coffee again in the mornings, which I've tried not to give myself a hard time about, because I've been struggling to sleep, and maybe I'm just in that cycle, or I don't know, maybe I don't have the words to analyse that right now. But so I kind of had some peanut butter on toast this morning, so I usually like to have with coffee. But then this afternoon I had like a bowl of porridge, so almost like 2 types of breakfast, but not too unhealthy as well. Especially the porridge is more healthy than I realised. I was checking the back of the bag, and it was saying, it's got some fibre, protein, and it's low in saturated fat. So it's quite a healthy sort of meal to have. So that's something I want to do a bit more consistently at times. So anything else? I think that's about it. I'm just going to enjoy the next couple of days, enjoy the chess, and just and just try and sort of craft my afternoon evening time for the next few days. It feels like a little bit of a schedule that's been created around this chess tournament. So, and sometimes I play a little bit of poker while I'm watching as well, because it can be it's one of those kind of watching things where there's gaps in moves, and it can be a bit slow sometimes. So kind of dip into that, just quite nice. So maybe it's fair to say I'm enjoying, even though I'm not able to fully keep up and understand the chess fully with the moves, but I'm able to watch it, understand enough so it's entertaining. So that's a positive, something to acknowledge. So I'm gonna get changed, and hopefully I'm able to head out